I just thought to myself, I can't spend the rest of myself looking in the mirror, hating what I see. It's so exhausting to hate yourself.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Season 4, Art of Beauty, Episode 3. Today we'll be talking all about diversity and inclusivity in beauty. And I have with me a very special guest, my very good friend, Issy.
Hi!
Thanks for coming. We're so excited to have you here. And when I thought of this topic, you were the first person that came to my mind because
really?
you do a bit of everything.
Sweet.
Yeah. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about you and maybe a little bit of what you do content-wise.
Sure. I'm a curve model and I specify mainly in beauty. I do like doing fashion shoots and stuff, but beauty is the one thing that I've always just loved, growing up and then seeing all the catalogs and all the magazine covers and just wanting to be on it.
Yeah.
So it feels really surreal that now I'm actually kind of in that position.
Yeah.
So I never ever thought it would be imaginable for someone who looked like me. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I like putting on like content for like plus size bodies, curvy bodies, like how to dress for your body type and how you shouldn't be ashamed of your curves.
Perfect. I love that. I know I follow you on Instagram and I see a lot of your storytelling content. I feel like it's so refreshing because you're someone who is, I feel like, very authentic to who you are and like what you stand for. You. I feel like a lot of people sometimes, especially online, they say one thing and then they actually like do another. So
Fair.
With you, I feel like you are truly yourself. So tell me a little bit more about like your journey. Like, has it always been that way for you, or did you ever have any like challenges growing up? Did you feel like you were always confident, or was there a change somehow throughout your life?
Honestly, I grew up very ashamed of my body. I used to wear like massive oversized hoodies. I would wear like, even if I'm like in the hot sweating sun, I'll make sure I'll cover up my arms because I have processus pilaris on my arms. I have eczema. I had really, really bad acne. And it was a really tough journey growing up. Typically, from a Chinese household where everyone is very skinny, very fair, very tall, and I was the complete opposite.
Right. Well, we love that.
I know, but now we do. Yeah. So it's honestly been it was a very long, hard journey, like educating my mom, all the stories that kind of happen as you go along. But I think that's what makes it so close to my heart, and maybe that's what you get to see as like an audience or like someone on Instagram. You get to see that side of me that I don't, like, none of my family knew that part of me. So it was kind of fun, kind of just having this little like secret community I had on Instagram that supported me in my journey.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because, I mean, I can also kind of understand, like, there is a certain stereotype, I think, that a lot of people put on women especially. But I think in Asia especially, I feel like a lot of times that if you are in entertainment or if you're on social media, a lot of times they expect you to, always be picture perfect, always look a certain way, act a certain way. But we all know that there's no really such thing as perfect, right? But what is it like for you to go on there to and kind of show whoever's, watching your videos or looking at your pictures? How do you get that confidence to show like your true self, like with, no makeup? I know you do a lot of get ready with me. It's a lot of like how to style, and you're always like, you're not trying to cover anything. In fact, you're always you're just flaunting and being who you are, which I think is so like commendable.
I think it's too tiring to cover it all up.
Right?
It's too much effort. I just feel like it's a lot easier just to be barefaced and just even like today I did like a very sheer kind of makeup. You can still see my pimples or my acne scars and my texture, but that's just who I am. I think I like being vulnerable because when I first started on Instagram about like 8 years ago, I saw like a really great community of people, and obviously it's evolved with marketing and stuff over time and it has changed. So I think the basis of where I stem from and where I try to create the content is actually from the beginning when I met all those creators who said like, oh wow, you look so good in a bikini. Can you please post more of this? I never see someone my body type wearing what you do. And that's kind of what landed me in modeling, because a local photographer said, I've actually never seen like a Chinese, typically curvy girl doing swimwear, and it was just me just doing like my traveling photos, because I started off as a travel blogger, and she's like, can I photograph you? And I was like, sure. It was really weird. I was like, are you sure? And it's like, yeah, of course. I'm like, I don't think it's that interesting, but she's like, no, it is, trust me. And we did a whole shoot, and that was literally the first photo shoot I ever did, and that was like 7 years ago. That's history.
Is there any specific brand that you think has kind of paved the way and kind of been like one of the first to do it, that you know, maybe feel like, you know, oh, this brand I really support because I feel like they really, you know, are true to what they stand for, and they really believe in that kind of messaging, and they really want to do it because they want to help that community of people who maybe never had an opportunity to, you know, maybe find the right shade or anything, like feel accepted, I guess is the word.
I think for me, the first foundation I ever tried on, and it actually matched my skin tone, was Fenty Beauty by Mrs. Rihanna.
Yeah, I agree. I love Fenty.
Because I could never find anything with like an olive tone base. And, you know, usually it's very pink or very yellow tone. So it didn't really suit me. So I forced myself to have a lot of yellow toned makeup where it's too honey or too bronzy. So when I tried Fenty for the very first time, it felt really nice to find it. And I know you're thinking like, oh, but you're very fair. You're not very dark either. But there was still kind of a gap in that in-between market. And I think Rihanna did a really great job creating that inclusivity.
Definitely. And I know you've also done a few beauty campaigns recently. I saw that on your Instagram. Would you like to share a little bit of that? What was your experience like on set? And maybe like when, you know, some of these brands invite you to be a part of their campaign or to shoot something with them. Like, I'm sure it's very exciting. And I think, you know, for someone like you who's always constantly, you know, being a visionary, being like a trendsetter almost for a lot of us more curvy girls. What was that like?
Well, the first campaign I ever did that was a beauty campaign was for MAC Cosmetics. It was 2 years ago for their Merdeka campaign. And a makeup artist who was doing my makeup for one of my other shoots asked me, would I be interested? And I literally screamed, and I just like jumped up and down because I just couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Because I've just never really seen like plus size girls associated with beauty, and let alone like for them to think of me. It was really amazing. And I went on set and I felt really, really accepted by everyone around me. And not only that, the person representing MAC, she came up and had a chat with me after, and it made me feel so special. I know that sounds pretty corny.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But it was definitely a very, very amazing experience. And I think I'll always remember that. And lately, the last one I did was for It Cosmetics. So I was going through a very bad purge in my acne. So I was feeling really down about myself, actually. So when I even sent the video, I was just like, oh my God, my skin looks horrible in this casting video. Like, I don't think I'm going to get it. It's so red, it's so patchy. And they ended up picking me, and I was so honored, and the experience was great. It was like a 2-day shoot kind of thing. And it was just so fun. And it felt so good to be represented as you, because they even asked my opinion and go like, what do you think of this picture? Does this resemble you? Is this how you would normally smile? We want you to be your true, authentic self. And I was like, this is so refreshing.
Yes, so, totally. And I think, you know, like people watching, like for the audience, like even for me, because I'm also a consumer, right? Makeup consumer, beauty consumer. And, you know, we're so like accustomed, like when I grew up, like we didn't have social media really back then. It was kind of like the start of like the internet and everything. And I personally relied heavily, like looking at magazines and things, what we saw on like television and stuff. So I feel like back then people were not as like aware and exposed to like how easy it is to actually manipulate an image or to edit photos or Photoshop, Facetune things. You feel like there is a, you know, certain standard of beauty that is set by, I don't know who actually sets it, but like you just feel like there's a certain benchmark that a lot of people put onto themselves to look a certain way.
Yeah, I think I grew up with a very singular mind of what beauty was. Like you said, like I grew up seeing all the campaigns on TV, like, and everyone was very tall, very blonde, blue-eyed, or if you were in Asia, they were usually very, very fair skin, like porcelain white, long black hair, you know, very skinny face and everything. And I think because of that glamazon era, and everyone just thought, okay, if I don't look like that, I'm not beautiful and I'm not accepted. And I think what's so amazing in our generation and what we're seeing, and slowly brands are like paving the way of allowing not just that singular beauty, but allowing like age, you know, like women of a vast age group, because, you know, they always associate like, oh, your beauty fades when you age.
Yeah.
But I think some beautiful women are out there and they're like in their 50s and 60s. I've seen them on like campaigns with like Path McGraths and all that. They look amazing. So I think it's great that the industry is slowly changing and getting out that whole retouching, airbrushing, Photoshop era.
Yeah, totally. I have to agree with that, because I think now there's some laws, especially like I think in the US, like if you are, you know, photoshopping like lashes, for example, like a mascara ad, for example, like if you're adding on like falsies on the model, like for the campaign shoot, you actually have to disclose that.
Wow, I didn't know
I love the transparency.
That's great, though. I like that. That's really transparent.
Because I feel like you're not really being misled to buy a product and then expect it to work and look like that, and then when you bring it back home, it looks absolutely nothing like that. Exactly. So I feel like that it's good that there is some sort of transparency with like brands, especially beauty brands. And what is your opinion? Like, do you ever feel like sometimes you are pressured to look a certain way in this day and age? Or are you just kind of like, you know what, this is me. This is what I have to offer.
I feel like sometimes, I mean, everyone has their good days and bad days. I'd be lying to everyone if I'm saying I always feel confident 100% every single day, because that's definitely not true. I have my lows, and now skincare is such a big thing. It's like almost taking over makeup, whereas makeup back then was the headliner. And when I was going through really bad acne or purge, or, you know, my skin just doesn't look the same way. I've got like my double chin and all that. And it always, and you see ads targeted like, oh, it's, you want to get rid of your double chin? Just come to us. We'll magic you up. You know, they'll make all these insane ads of like fats jiggling off a body. And also, and they have like faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's kind of hard sometimes not to go like, oh no, do I need to do that surgery? Do I need to like get that fixed? Done? You know, so I think from time to time I do have that a little bit in the back of my head, but most of the time I try my best to be I'll do whatever I like. I'm very happy in my body, and I've grown a lot from that. And if you're not happy, feel free to, you know, change it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I think there's people always saying like, oh no to cosmetic surgery, or very extreme points of views, but I think you only have one life to live. Do whatever makes you happy.
Do whatever you want. It's your body. But
absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, that's really refreshing to hear from you. But I know a lot of people may be struggling with their weight, or maybe like you said, like people going through puberty and like having acne and breakouts. Maybe they don't feel as like confident, or they don't feel that, you know, they don't feel beautiful, right? So what would you say to them, like in the meantime, while they're going through that? Like, what should they do to, you know, maybe boost their self-esteem and their confidence?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is probably stop overthinking it. It's not really that big of a deal. Like, you've got a pimple, you've got a roll there, you've got stretch marks here. No one actually cares.
Nobody notices.
It's all in your head sometimes.
That's true.
And the people that are pointing out, I mean, come on. I think it's good to like reflect and not really worry about what someone is saying about you, except yourself. So I think I would just say re-educate yourself, kind of like rethink your mind to, instead of going to a mirror and pointing out all your flaws, point out the stuff that you love.
Love that.
Like, you know, that's what I did to try to get over it. Like, oh, I loved my waist. I liked my lips. You know, so I tried to focus on that more so that I wouldn't detach and, you know, go into this doom. I was like, oh no, this like downward spiral. So I would definitely say stop focusing on all the bad things, instead focus on the positive. And just live your life. Just live like no one's watching.
100%. I mean, that is so well said. I feel like a lot of people sometimes, they overthink, and then they're like their biggest critic, you know, like you have a zit, they're like, oh my God, everybody's going to see this. And really, in reality, nobody's really noticing it. Like, okay, it's a zit, so what? Like everybody gets it. And I think it's important, right, to like normalize that there's no such thing as a flawless human, like perfect human. Everybody has some sort of texture, scars. Is there anything that you do to maybe like maintain, like, I guess, like your idea of a healthy body and healthy skin?
So I don't know if it's unique or not, but I think just balance is key to everything. Whereas with it's exercising, if it's eating well, do everything with balance. If you like your ice cream, don't have it every single day, have it once a week. Like for me, that has helped the most, because I think I went to extremes, because I actually did have body dysmorphia when I was growing up, and I also was bulimic for almost 5 to 6 years. So it was a very massive journey to get out of that headspace, to stop binge eating and just finding that balance. And I think that key, once you find it, it's just when you're like so happy and you just feel so good in yourself. It's just an overwhelming feeling of like love on your body, and it's such a strange feeling to have. Like, and I feel like every woman should have to experience that at least once in their life, you know, to not pick yourself apart. And I think doing my skincare rituals, eating clean is really helpful as well for me. And I think they're just like everyday tips, really. I don't think there's any secret. You know how they go like, oh, this is the secret to finding this. I think the secret is actually just you.
That's true. You have to kind of want to make a difference, I guess, right? And to have to see that result, it's kind of a lifestyle change. It's not necessarily like a, you know, easy fix or a quick fix.
Absolutely not. Diets do not work.
Exactly.
I've been doing diets since I was 8. I've tried everything, like from top to bottom. Like nothing will work. Trust me. Just fix your lifestyle and fix where you want to be at.
Yeah, totally. And I have a question. So you did mention, we were talking a little earlier, you said like when you first started, you were a little insecure and you would, you know, maybe sometimes felt the need to maybe like edit pictures, and you mastered Photoshop at one point.
Yeah, which I did.
It's not an easy thing to do, I must say.
At a young age of 14.
Right? Wow, that is amazing. And you mentioned that, you know, you would, you know, try to like take out all the like bad quote unquote flaws that you felt like, you know, were not supposed to be there. Like you wanted this perfect like picture. Tell us a little bit more about that, and like what changed you to now be the complete opposite of that and just kind of like be your bare self, and you're like, this is it, this is me with whatever like flaws I have, here it is, it's for you guys, you know. So like what was that like, you know, mentality, mindset change, like what, you know, made you want to change that, I guess, habits or behavior?
I think I just wanted to enjoy looking. I just thought to myself, I can't spend the rest of myself looking in the mirror, hating what I see. It's so exhausting to hate yourself. So I think I kind of had that massive change. So I was like probably maybe 12 up to the age of 15, 16, I was photoshopping myself. I mastered like this, all the tools. I watched the YouTube tutorials. I could airbrush like I was on Vogue. I could work for them basically.
Wow, that is, oh my gosh.
You actually can't find a photo of me with my normal body. Which is really, really sad to say, because I was trying to look back at photos of me at that age when people do your throwbacks on Instagram, and I genuinely couldn't find one that wasn't photoshopped. And it was really sad for me, like seeing that, but also the growth and the change. I think the change for me that was really significant was the people around me. I think I started dropping the friends who would always comment on my weight and point out all my scars or my psoriasis or things that I genuinely can't help. And it, like, you think about it, kids are cruel. Like kids, they don't realize that they are being that way. So it's just one of those things. Surrounding myself with a different type of community is probably the thing that helped me the most get out of that funk and actually start to enjoy my body. And I think that was the massive change, was literally just people around me. And I know it sounds so small, but it was such a big change for me to stop doing that and just being authentic. And it felt really comforting. Almost like I just felt so seen by other people. Like, oh wow, you post barefaced. Oh, you're showing your rolls. Like, you know, instead of all the comments that bullied me, I like kind of
body shaming and all.
And I just reversed it back, and I actually like go on Instagram, and you can actually get rid of all those words and not have people in your comments bringing you down and just not being in that headspace altogether. Just take it out of the equation. You know.
Yeah, that is really cool, because I don't think a lot of people realize that sometimes they're actually like kind of helping that kind of toxic environment where
it's just this bad cycle, really.
It is
and
a
it's
bad
not their
cycle.
fault.
Yeah.
Like, they're not educated, especially like with our older parents or grandparents. And everyone used to point out my weight all the time, and now nobody says anything. If anything, they go like, "Oh wow, you look so good lately."
Right?
I had my mom's birthday last weekend, and one of my aunts, who has never paid me a compliment probably my entire life, told me I looked good. I was like, well, I must be doing something.
Yeah. When it comes to, you doing maybe like shoots and things, like sometimes you work with other models, and sometimes, I've been in that position where I feel like we can kind of relate. Have you ever felt like when you were included in a shoot or, I don't know, a brand campaign or anything, and they have other maybe sample sized models, right? Like the typical traditional ideal of what a model should be, like, 5'9" and have the sample size. Did you ever feel like sometimes there was this double standard? Like, yeah, you're on the campaign, but you were never really
you're
highlighted
like the token
and celebrated.
Plus size girl.
You're just kind of
filling a quota.
Right.
Like, I think I have felt that way in some cases. But lately, I think it's kind of changed. But of course, when I first started off doing modeling, when I was in Sydney, I did an active wear campaign. And I felt a lot of people just whispering and going like, why is she here? Yeah. And it felt like really disheartening because I was so excited, They booked me a flight, went over there. I was like, okay, this is so exciting. I'm finally being accepted for being who I am. And then you go there and you realize, wait, that one person's rooting for you, not everyone else.
Right? Yeah, I feel like I've kind of been in that position as well, and it's really kind of sad because a lot of times they're always finding a plus size model to just be in the background or kind of like you said, fill a quota.
Exactly, you're like never center focus. Yeah. It's very rare to find brands that do that. Yeah. So
what do you think? Let's just say, like, what do you think of the future? What do you think brands, beauty brands, fashion brands, lifestyle brands, where do you think the future for inclusivity and diversity is leading? Like, do you think it's, going to be a market by itself? Do you think this is going to expand? Do you think more people are going to be jumping on this train? Do you think
I think so. I like for myself. So I always struggled finding swimwear because I love swimwear, but most brands just carry up to an L. So when you're bigger, you're used to squeezing to smaller sizes. So I'm actually, what you're saying about being more inclusive, I'm actually starting my own swimwear brand very, very soon. It's launching hopefully in August or September. It's called Issy, which is the Italian word for benessere, which means safety and comfort. Wow. And combined with the beginning part of my name.
Wait, I love that. I love that little hybrid.
And we're doing 7 sizes starting out the bat. And I got rejected so much by suppliers saying like, oh, you're just a startup. You can just do 2 or 3 sizes. I'm like, so I'm going to start a swimwear brand with not my size. That sounds, thanks. So yeah, we're doing size 0 to 22 American, and we're also going through the eco-friendly way. So everything is made of eco-polyamide. So like, those bins that you see that people put clothes and you think it just goes to the trash. It actually gets regurgitated and created into like new fabrics. And that's what my brand is all about. So yes, I think as a small business owner that's starting soon, I think if I have felt that need to grow that way, I hope bigger brands do too.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm so excited for you. And honestly, I can't wait to see the pieces because I've always struggled with this too, especially with like swimwear. I feel like a lot of times, like you like a certain design or you like a certain fit, and then suddenly they don't really fit your body because it's always like more of like, catered to like a mannequin. It looks good on the mannequin, it's not going to hide anything. It's not going to cover
it's not
me.
Going to conceal anything.
I guess to wrap it up, I just wanted to ask you, like, okay, maybe if you had, some word of advice for maybe the girls who are watching or some of the younger girls, especially, I feel like, who are, impressionable and they're still growing and maybe they want to be a model and maybe they want to create content online and they want to stay true to who they are. If they're a curvy girl or if they're going through, some skincare challenges like acne and all that, what would you say to them to maybe boost their self-confidence, and what would you say to them to start their journey? Like, what should they do?
I think I'll give the advice that I wish someone gave to me when I was younger, was stop worrying about everyone else and their opinion. Start thinking about what you want. what makes you happy, what makes you feel the most confident self, no matter what that item may be, and just run with it. Screw all the trends, do what you like to do the content you like to produce, and you can be the trend. You can start that.
Yes, I love that so much. If you want to follow Issy, where can we find you on socials?
Instagram under
What's
Issy
your handle?
Yong.
Definitely follow my girl Issy on Instagram. She's amazing. I'm sure you guys will love her content. Thank you so much, Issy, for being on this episode. I had such a fun time chatting and talking.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And as always, guys, I will see you in the next episode of Art of Beauty. Bye.
See ya.